This is the Near Protocol 1-year reading for 2024. It's currently December 10th, 2023. 7:14 p.m. Eastern Time. Near Protocol at the time of this reading is $2.54. That's USD. And the shuffle video we're about to play for you for the Near Protocol 1-year reading for 2024 was created on December 5th, 2023 at 2:58 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video here in the corner. So the overall theme and behavior for Near Protocol in 2024 is the establishment of support with sideways rotation, followed by a significant move higher, standing out on it'll stand out on at least a 1-year chart, probably on multi-year chart scale. It's crossed with an important resistance where we flatten out. It'll be important resistance again on at least the 1-year chart scale, probably on multi-year chart scale. Behavior around the highest high, we attempt to establish support near the high with sideways rotation, and it looks like it doesn't hold because we've got the unicursal there indicating that off of the highs there's significant, at least one of the highs, if there's more than one high, we have a significant move to the downside, like it'll stand out on a 1-year chart scale, a sharp drop. And then behavior around the lowest low for the year, or lows, we have price swings. Usually when you see the Dominion card in the low significator position, you have more than one low. Like it may be the same low multiple times in the midst of price swings, at least 2 times usually in the midst of price swings. And before we go any further, I want to make sure everybody's aware the whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. We do that by following the rule of karma for the channel, which is the unwritten agreement between anybody utilizing this information for personal gain and the universe. The universe expects people utilizing this for personal gain to also simultaneously be utilizing this information to benefit others. Imagine if everybody in the stock market took some of what they made and they donated it to somebody that needed it. The world would be a much better place, my friends. So let's make sure to at least do part of that together as a team, following the rule of karma. So that's 5% of the profits from every profitable trade utilizing this information. You should go to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders. And 5% of the profit should be donated forward to one of these charities, transmuting competitive energy into goodwill. And then 5% of the profit should be donated back to the channel here through one of these links. If you're international, you can use Wise or you can tip through YouTube. It leaves you at 90% and also gratitude mentality. Spend that 90% out of love to keep your conscience clear. As long as you follow those rules, my friends, you set yourself up vibrationally speaking for wealth to continue to be unfolding and created in your reality. And the universe will send it back to you tenfold for following through on the rule of karma. As long as you do that, you're considered an angel investor of the channel. Blessings to all my angel investors. Let's get back into it. All right, so each cluster of 4 cards going from left to right across the screen represents information about 1 month out of the year, and you can see they're labeled for each month. What's important to understand is that the 2 cards in the middle going horizontal across the screen, each one of those cards represents about 2 weeks of time. Not each card's energy is going to line up perfectly with 2 weeks of time, so we have to give the readings timing. In some cases, we may be plus or minus 2 weeks here or there. In some cases, we'll be 100% on point. But when we do find ourselves off a little bit on timing, it's important to pay attention to the sequence of events, because the sequence of events, as far as chart behavior is concerned, will remain accurate, and that way you can stay on track. If we do find ourselves veering off timing, it usually doesn't remain that same way. We find ourselves veering back on course at some point in the not too distant future. In January, we have a failed attempt to break through a key resistance level, followed by a decline through key support. Now, what's important about this resistance level, important on a 1-year chart scale, is that technicals leading into this failed attempt, technicals will lead us to believe that we're going to break through this resistance level and go higher. And so it's really a disappointment when we break through it momentarily and then we turn around and we decline through that. And usually just previously established support is the reason why we see ourselves breaking through. And in cases where it's previously established support, we generally fail to break through that resistance and then we decline through that previously established false support. So that's the behavior in the beginning of January. Behavior around the January low, it'll form when we have a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels. Behavior around the January high will have a decline that ends with a fast sudden move higher, taking us into the high. And there's a particularly important opportunity in the later part of January, which is probably where we see a January high. But hard to say. All I can say at this point is that there's a particularly important opportunity there. All right, and so that opportunity I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. We have a trough in early February and a big move higher standing out on a 1-year chart scale. Out of that trough, it's a pop and drop into the February high. A notable decline standing out on a 1-year chart scale, taking us into the February low. It looks like we go from a low to a high to a low at the end of the month. So low at the beginning of the month, low at the end of the month, prominent peak in between. And it looks like out of that second low, that low at the end of the month, we have a notable move higher again standing out on a 1-year chart scale, breakout through a key resistance level. There's an important resistance level highlighted there near the March high, and a lot of volatility involving this important resistance level. It'll be important on at least a 1-year chart scale, probably a multi-year chart scale, and there'll be a lot of volatility around that. There's also a prominent peak there that we'll talk about in more detail, because there's a sharp drop there. I'm advised not to chase a rally in early March, and there's a sharp drop, or possibility of a sharp drop there. Probably is one based on the Ace of Swords. And we have a notable reversal near the trough, the mid-March trough. Actually, it's more like the early part of March. There's a big move out of this trough, and it'll stand out as a prominent reversal on a 1-year chart scale amongst other reversals. Either that or it'll be like back and forth kind of reversal. But my sense is that it's probably like a notable reversal on a 1-year chart scale, and then we come into a crest in the later part of March where we sell off to and through a support level, and then we do a U-shaped reversal below that support, come back and reuse it as support. There's a trough in early March, a trough in late March, and there's a prominent peak in between those two. Then we have a particularly notable fake out of some kind, some chart behavior here in April that'll really stand out later on. Like when we see it looking back, it'll stand out as a really notable fake out of some kind on like probably a actually on a multi-year chart scale, because we have a cross-reading congruency here for the 2023 card taking place here, right? 2023 takes place there. We have the 2020 or correlations to 2024 card here as well. It's the high card as well, so very prominent there. But the point is that in sequence of events, we have a very important reversal kind of chart behavior there. So I'd be very, very careful. There's a prominent trough in early April, a prominent peak after that prominent trough. We meet a key resistance level on a 1-year chart scale in April at the high, and then we decline with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down from that resistance at the April high. And that takes us into another trough towards the early part of the second half of April. So like late mid-session, like maybe end of third week, beginning of fourth week of April. Out of that, big move to the upside. So almost like a spike up out of a trough and a rally that increases with momentum moving forward into another prominent peak early part of May. That rally ends with a fast move higher taking us to the peak, and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line that we were rallying along with increasing volatility on the way down into a prominent trough in May, towards the later part of May at an important support level that'll be important on a multi-year chart scale. Looks like there's a pretty sharp drop off of that peak in early May. There's a pretty sharp drop, and then the low of May, we do back and forth 3 times, crisscrossing through the same price level, first up, then down, then back up, usually confirming a bullish trend. That is the case as we exit out of May and into June, somewhere around the cusp of May, June. There is a notable move higher as indicated by this orange correlating to the gain card. So we probably established support with some sideways rotation on this important support in early May. And then there's big move higher. Trade opportunity there in early May, followed by a decline to revisit a support level that we recently met before, as indicated by the prudence card. The June low will form in a period of volatility that ends with a fast sudden move higher. And it looks like towards the end of June, there's a big move out of oversold territory to the upside, standing out on a 1-year chart, or maybe it's like a gap up, or just a really big move higher of some kind. In late June, the June high forms when we have a failed attempt to break through a key resistance level that's been established already on a 1-year chart scale, and then we decline through key support. It looks like the June high is probably towards the end of June, and it may continue into early July, the rally. But there's the completion of a bullish trend in early July, and the July high forms from a period of sideways rotation, and then a big move higher, and then a period of sideways rotation at the July high. There's an important range that's highlighted in later July, and off of the July low, we have a notable rally standing out on a 1-year chart scale. I'll talk about that in more detail in the paid version. There's a trade opportunity there. Guys, if you're interested in the paid version, it's really a great way to support the channel. There's a ton of really valuable information. You won't find this information anywhere else. It only exists here after 23 years of developing SO meta analysis, the third form of analysis. Nobody else has it anywhere. Nobody even comes close to the accuracy. We're not right all the time, so trade responsibly, but we're right most of the time. So it gives you a superior edge if you trade utilizing this information. And so what you get in addition to what we see here for the public version is the price level information that we're able to extrapolate. You get the highest high and lowest low timing. You get the overall performance of near in comparison to Bitcoin over the same 1-year period of 2024. And you get the best trades that we see throughout the year, what to look for as far as entry and exit chart patterns throughout the year, around the timing of when to do it. So we give you some really helpful guidance in most cases. For $249 for a year's worth of information and reliable information that you can't find anywhere else. Most people will never even believe that this information is possible to have ahead of time. But the way that you get it is you go to our website, tarotfortraders.com. You hover over our services, click on SO Meta Posts, scroll down to 1-year report, click here to order, select the year that you want your prediction to be about, and then enter the ticker or crypto symbol there. Add to cart, $249 for 1 year's worth of information. My friends, it's December. I'm utilizing 2023 readings today on lives. We look at them every day on our live streams that we have every single trading day. We're utilizing 2023 readings that were created in 2022 with 100% accuracy to the day. So check those out, my friends. And thank you to everybody that does that. Your support is much needed and appreciated. Let's continue onwards. Oh, you also get information about, on a multi-year kind of scale, and how the 2024 reading fits into the 10-year reading. All right, so very likely a new local high of some kind in early August, and there's a prominent move. We go from a trough in early July into a prominent peak in late July into a higher peak in early August, and there's a prominent move higher followed by a full retracement of that move to create the August high. Near the August low, we have multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance, and then in the later part of August, we have a big move reaching for a distant resistance, big move higher that'll stand out on a 1-year chart scale, taking us to a prominent peak right around the cusp of August, September. And then there's a period of volatility in early September and a sharp drop that stands out in that period of volatility. We have out of the September low, a rally along a diagonal trend line. We break through at least one horizontal resistance important on a 1-year chart scale, and we meet a second one before pulling back to somewhere between those two. That's a chart behavior out of the September low, which will be a prominent trough on a 1-year chart scale. Most likely towards the later part of September, the behavior around the September high, we successfully turned resistance into new support, at least momentarily there, probably for at least a little bit there in September. And it looks like we may have a September peak towards the end of September. Another prominent peak on a 1-year chart scale there in early October in the midst of sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bears, inflow and outflow. So you kind of get like this back and forth behavior going sideways overall. There's a near overbought peak that we sell off from pretty notably there in early October. And a high for October forms when we have a prominent peak on a 1-year chart scale that we sell off from pretty notably there, a sharp drop. The October low it forms when we break through multiple support levels. And then the later part of October, we have a rally that is halted by a decline through a key support level on a 1-year chart scale. There's a prominent peak and a prominent trough there at the cusp of October. And we also have the Ace of Discs, pretty sharp drop there. I mean, we have the universal energy here as well in October. So my sense is that there's a pretty sharp drop there around October into like the cusp of October, like it'll almost be vertical. All right, and then there's an important support level highlighted in the early part of November. And when you see the Ace of Discs, generally speaking, there's a lot of price change involved around this support level. So there's a good cash out opportunity of some kind usually. And then we have the Princess of Discs for late November, which is almost the exact same energy. It's not exactly the same, but almost. So maybe that we go to another, maybe the same support level, or it may be a more like a lower one. I'll talk about which of those options it is in the paid version. The November low forms when we have a sideways fluctuating decline that precedes a rally. Also, the support level in later part of November, there'll be a lot of price change near that as well. The behavior around the November high sideways rotation along a support level. And then in the early part of December, we have a notable rally that'll stand out on a one-year chart scale. Sideways rotation near the December high, which will be a prominent peak on a one-year chart scale. And then there's a sharp drop off of that December high into probably the December low in the later part of December. And out of that decline into the low, we'll have a big move from the bottom of a range to the top of a range. The December low behavior out of it will be to push the upper end of a range higher. Interesting. So it might be that we in the later part of December, after a sharp drop, we have this big move from the bottom of a range to the top, like to meet where we fell from, the sharp drop fell from, and then probably continue higher, it looks like. For 2025, the sneak preview is there's an opportunity in there in 2025. We'll talk about it in more detail when we get into the 2025 reading and when we talk about the 10-year reading, which look out for the 10-year reading for NIR. It'll be coming out relatively soon. There's an opportunity there to open up a long position on a multi-year scale or close a short position on a multi-year scale there in 2025. Again, we'll talk about it in more detail in the paid version. That's NIR protocol for 2024. Thank you, my friends, for following through on that rule of karma. You know where to go. You know what to do. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version.